Welcome to the Truth Hunter channel, your destination for captivating real stories that take surprising turns. If you love the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. Your support is crucial for the growth of our channel. Let's jump right into the narrative. My name is Tom, 31. I find my life to be quite ordinary. I'm employed at a marketing firm. It's not extraordinary, but it certainly covers the expenses. I live in a cozy downtown apartment, surrounded by a few good friends, and I'm truly satisfied with the way life is unfolding. It seems I've discovered a sense of solace in the familiarity of routine. Focus on work, hit the gym, and unwind with friends over drinks on the weekends. It was simple and predictable until one fateful night, everything transformed. It began like any other evening. A small group of friends convened at a nearby bar to enjoy some drinks together. Everything seems perfectly normal. I found myself in a conversation with Eric, my closest friend since our high school days. He's the type of person who effortlessly appears to have it all figured out. On the surface, his life appears flawless. A thriving career, a lovely partner, a charming home. All eyes are on him and the consensus is clear, this guy has it all figured out. Overall, it seems he does. And then she appeared, Molly, his beloved wife. She arrived at the bar a bit later, her demeanor slightly askew. Eric was, as always, his quintessential self. However, Molly appeared to be unique. There was an unmistakable sense of something amiss with her, though I couldn't quite identify it at first. She appeared to be lacking enjoyment. She seemed to scan the room as if anticipating something or someone to arrive. That behavior was completely out of character for her. Eventually, Eric had to take his leave for an early meeting or something similar while Molly remained behind. I didn't give it much thought. I was having a great time out with the guys under the night sky. However, just past midnight, Molly approached me. "Hello, Tom," she remarked, giving me a gentle tap on the shoulder. "Could you please give me a lift home? I'm not in the mood to wait for an Uber this evening." That caught me off guard. It was clear that she and Eric resided just a stone's throw from the bar. Yet something about it felt slightly off. We weren't exactly tight. We were merely acquaintances within the same circle of friends. Naturally, I said yes. "Absolutely no problem at all," I declared, flinging my jacket on. We strolled over to my car. Throughout the entire experience, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was a bit off. It's not something that happens every day when your best friend's wife requests a ride home, is it? She was merely an acquaintance, a friend of a friend, nothing beyond that. As we settled into the car, the silence enveloped us, almost deafening. Molly remained silent. I cast a quick look in her direction. She gazed out the window, her mind adrift in contemplation. Unsure of how to respond, I directed my attention to the road ahead, attempting to dispel the unsettling sensation that something was amiss. "I really appreciate the ride," she said softly after a moment. Her voice lacked the usual confidence that we all know so well. It had a gentle quality, almost weary. "Sure thing," I responded, maintaining a relaxed vibe. Yet, the way she expressed it left me questioning whether there was something deeper beneath the surface. As we arrived at her house, I anticipated her stepping out, yet she remained still. "All is well?" I inquired, feeling uncertain about how to interpret the circumstances. "Text, I just need a moment," she whispered. Her eyes were shut tight, and I noticed the tension in her face, as if she were restraining something within. It appeared that she was not particularly eager to be at home. She appeared to be trapped. I found myself at a loss for words, yet I was mindful not to impose any pressure on her. I remained seated, patiently allowing her the room she evidently required. It felt strange, being in the car with her, surrounded only by the hum of the engine running. I couldn't shake the thought of her, how she appeared to be ensnared in something beyond her control. "What is it? What prompted her to ask me for a ride home in the first place? It just didn't feel right." At last, she lifted her eyelids and gazed in my direction. Her gaze lacked the familiar, friendly, distant look I had come to expect from her. This time, it had a unique quality, as if there was something deeper at play. "Hey Tom, can I share something with you?" she inquired, her voice scarcely rising above a whisper. I was at a loss for words. "Absolutely," I responded, aiming for a laid-back vibe. Yet, an unsettling feeling hinted that her words might not sit well with me. She confided in me, saying, "I just don't know how much longer I can keep up this facade that everything is fine," accompanied by Eric. "He's not who you believe him to be, Tom. He's not who he claims to be." I was completely taken aback. What was she referring to? Eric was my closest companion. He was the man who seemed to have everything in perfect order. However, Molly was now sharing a completely different perspective with me. It was illogical. She pressed on, her voice quivering slightly. I'm utterly exhausted from putting on a facade, Tom. The most challenging aspect is that I believe I've fallen for someone else. A person who truly gets me. A person who truly understands me. A knot twisted tightly in my stomach. What did she say? Could she have been referring to me? I found myself at a loss for how to respond. With a deep sigh, she held my gaze unwaveringly. I have no desire to cause pain, yet I can no longer continue this facade. I was at a loss for words. I was completely in the dark about what any of this signified. I found myself at a loss, unsure of the next steps to take. I remained in the car, absorbing the weight of Molly's words. Her words lingered in the atmosphere, thick and elusive like a dense fog. I was unable to let go. I found it impossible to meet her gaze. As I gazed at the steering wheel, I fought to rein in my thoughts, preventing them from spiraling wildly. What did she say? Was she truly admitting that her heart belonged to someone else? Was this a genuine plea for assistance or a form of manipulation? Molly was the first to break the silence, her voice quivering slightly. Tom, I realize this might seem a bit out there. I apologize, I didn't intend to place this burden on you. I find myself at a loss for someone to confide in. I inhaled deeply, seeking to find my balance. The entire scenario seemed off. She was wed to Eric, my closest companion. What was I meant to say in response to something like this? I attempted to clear my throat to project calmness, yet my voice gave me away. Molly, I'm at a loss for words. I finally turned my gaze toward her. Her gaze was fixed on her hands, which she twisted anxiously in her lap. This is quite substantial. I know, she whispered, her gaze lifting to meet mine. I never intended to place this burden on you. I've been keeping this bottled up for far too long, and I'm at a loss for where to go next. She reclined in her seat, her head gently supported by the headrest. It was clear to me just how heavily this burden was affecting her. The droop of her shoulders, the restless movement of her hands. It was evident that she was facing challenges. She found herself in a bind, and I was at a loss for how to assist. He doesn't know me, Tom, she said softly, her voice trembling slightly. He has no idea who I truly am. He doesn't seem to pay attention. He consistently maintains a sense of distance. It feels as though we're merely going through the motions, doesn't it? It feels as though we are merely roommates cohabiting rather than truly connecting as a husband and wife. I remained there utterly astonished. Is that you, Eric? The individual who always appeared to have everything in order. The one that captured everyone's admiration? He fell short of being the ideal husband. How can that possibly be true? How could Molly feel such unhappiness with him when, on the surface, their life appeared perfect? Initially, I remained silent. Silence enveloped the moment. However, I sensed the need to express my thoughts. Molly, I'm at a loss for words. I've always believed that the two of you were, well, you know, truly content together. Her expression contorted in frustration as she shook her head in disbelief. You just don't understand. What you perceive is solely curated by Eric. Tom has always been this way. He prioritizes his own needs. He conceals his true self. I've made attempts to communicate, yet he remains unresponsive. I'm feeling stuck, Tom. Her words struck me with an intensity one hadn't anticipated. The pressure in my chest was palpable, intensifying with each passing moment. Uncertainty clouded my thoughts and emotions. Trust was a puzzle I couldn't quite solve. Molly, I'm uncertain. I've been acquainted with Eric for many years now. I've never witnessed him in that way. I suggested that you attempt to make sense of it. Yet, an unsettling knot twisted in my stomach. Is it possible that Eric is truly the individual Molly was talking about? It was illogical. He's not who you think he is, Tom, she reiterated, her voice tinged with urgency as she implored me to understand. No one understands him the way I do. Her words struck me once more with their profound impact. Thoughts surged through my mind. Is it possible that this is actually true? Is it possible that Eric is concealing something significant? What was the reason behind Molly sharing all of this with me? Was she seeking compassion? Was she truly making an effort to help me grasp the situation? I caught a glimpse of her, and for the first time I realized just how weary she appeared. Her eyes glowed a deep crimson, framed by shadows that hinted at sleepless nights. She stood on the brink of a breakdown, and I found myself uncertain whether she sought my advice, my support, or perhaps something altogether different. I just couldn't grasp what she truly desired. I found myself sitting there, caught in a moment of uncertainty about my next move. My heart raced, and my thoughts whirled in a chaotic dance. This was more than just a casual chat. This was an admission, a desperate plea for assistance. I was completely at a loss for how to reply. It was as if she could feel my uncertainty. "I'm not asking you to fix anything, Tom," she said gently. I felt the urge to share this with someone. I could no longer maintain the facade that everything was okay. I was uncertain about how to approach this situation. I found myself at a loss when it came to navigating Molly's emotions and the news I was receiving about Eric. I found myself uncertain about my next steps, and it frustrated me to feel so overwhelmed. At last, I found my voice, speaking softly. "Molly, while I may not fully grasp your situation, I believe it's important for you to have a conversation with Eric. This isn't something I can resolve." Her gaze met mine, and a gentle warmth spread across her features. "I understand," she murmured, "but I'm unsure of the way forward. I'm not sure if I still desire it." We lingered in silence for what felt like an eternity. The outside world felt like a distant realm. I found myself at a loss, unsure of how to support her and what this situation meant for my own journey. Yet I was certain of one thing: this was merely the start. At last, she faced me, her gaze brimming with unspoken thoughts. "Thank you, Tom, for your attentive ear." I was at a loss for words. I simply nodded, and as I stole a glance at the clock, it struck me just how much time had slipped away. The hour was late. It's too late. I found myself questioning whether I had improved the situation or complicated it further. However, it was evident that everything had changed. Leaving her there was the last thing I wanted to do, but deep down I understood it was necessary. "I should take my leave," I murmured softly. "It's time for you to recharge and take a break." She remained silent. With a simple nod from her, I turned the key and brought the engine to life. As I drove away, an undeniable sensation lingered, hinting that something had just changed. A significant development. I was completely unaware of the journey that lay ahead. I navigated the road home in a haze, my mind swirling with Molly's words and a nagging sense of disbelief. What caused such a rapid shift? In an instant, I found myself giving my best friend's wife a ride home, only to be thrust into a situation I had no idea how to handle. I found myself going over the conversation in my mind again and again. Molly revealed that Eric was not the person I believed him to be, that their marriage was far from what it appeared, and most importantly, she confessed her feelings for me. Everything seemed to unravel, yet a part of me grasped the significance of her words. She felt discontent, trapped in a marriage that no longer brought her joy. I could sense it in her tone, observe it in her manner of speaking. But did that imply I needed to take action? I found it impossible to simply brush it aside. Despite my desire to turn a blind eye, I was acutely aware that Molly was facing a tough time. Our connection was undeniable, even if I often found myself uncertain about my place in her life. The thought of having to face my best friend, my brother in arms, regarding all of this seemed utterly daunting. Last night was a restless one, filled with endless tossing and turning. I didn't even reach out to Eric that day, which was unusual for me since I typically called him whenever I had a moment to spare. I had always stayed connected, supporting him, the one who had never failed me. However, now everything had changed. I was uncertain about my position with him now. The following morning, I immersed myself in my typical routine, striving to stay occupied. The daily grind continued, filled with a barrage of emails, back-to-back meetings, and looming deadlines. My concentration was slipping away. With each glance at my phone, anticipation swelled within me. Would Molly reach out with a text or a call? Then came the question that lingered in my mind. Should I share this with Eric? Is it best to be truthful with him regarding what Molly mentioned? My intention was never to cause Eric any pain. He was my closest companion, and I understood the depth of his love for her. However, I was fully aware that I couldn't simply act as if nothing had occurred. The distinction between right and wrong was increasingly fading with each passing moment. Just as the clock struck noon, a message from Molly popped up on my phone. "I'd like to keep things simple, but could we have another conversation? It's regarding what I mentioned last night." The message carried a weighty significance. I gazed at it for a moment before crafting my response. A part of me wished to dismiss it, to shove it aside and forget, yet I found myself unable to do so. I realized it was essential to understand her expectations of me. I replied with a message. "Absolutely. When will it happen?" Her response came in nearly an instant. "I'll be at the coffee shop close to your office in about an hour. Are we able to schedule a meeting?" I took action without a second thought. I realized I needed to meet her. A part of me felt the urge to comprehend, and perhaps, just perhaps, A sliver of curiosity lingered about the direction this was taking. Yet, I was acutely aware that reuniting with her would entail stepping over a boundary I was uncertain about crossing. As soon as I stepped into the coffee shop, I immediately noticed Molly. In a cozy corner of the cafe, she sat with her hands cradling a steaming mug, gazing into its depths as if seeking the answers to unspoken questions. Her expression was a mystery, yet the tension in her shoulders spoke volumes. I approached and took a seat directly opposite her. "Hello there." I spoke softly, attempting to maintain a casual demeanor even as my heart raced. "Hi," she replied, her voice softer than usual. Though her gaze remained fixed, it was clear she was battling something within. "I aim to keep things simple, Tom. However, I'm uncertain about any other way to approach this situation." I nodded deliberately, anticipating her next words. Uncertain of my place in this moment, I found myself drawn to her, sensing that she craved a listening ear. "I've been reflecting on my words from last night," she continued, "and I realize I probably shouldn't have said that. I realize it's not right to involve you in this, but I can't continue to pretend, Tom. I felt trapped in misery for far too long, and I refuse to continue living a falsehood. However, I also want to ensure that Eric isn't hurt in the process." Once more, she found herself grappling with the emotional turmoil that had burdened her for an indeterminate stretch of time. She found herself caught in a conflict between her feelings for me and her unwavering loyalty to Eric. The situation was undeniably challenging, and her expression made that clear. I paused for a moment, uncertain of how to respond. I felt compelled to share with her that perhaps this was merely a phase, that she was navigating a challenging time, and maybe her words didn't reflect her true feelings. However, I realized that it wouldn't be fair to her. I didn't walk her path. I had never experienced the sensation of being ensnared in a stifling relationship, where escape seemed utterly impossible. "I'm not sure what you're hoping to hear from me." I finally spoke, my voice barely rising above a whisper. "I want to keep this as easy as possible for you, Molly. I simply cannot take on the responsibility of deciding what you should do with your marriage." When her eyes locked onto mine, I noticed a spark in them that I had never seen before. Openness. She had transformed from being merely my best friend's wife. She was a woman, adrift and seeking an escape. "I just needed you to listen to me," she said gently. "I want to avoid any regrets, Tom, but I can't continue to pretend that everything is fine." Her words settled heavily within me. I was unable to resolve this for her, and I couldn't make the decision on her behalf. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was becoming entangled in a situation that would only exacerbate our troubles. I rose to my feet, uncertain of how to continue the conversation. "It seems we should take a bit more time to consider this further." Molly gazed up at me, her expression brimming with doubt. "Absolutely, you hit the nail on the head." As I stepped out of the coffee shop, I found myself grappling with a multitude of questions, each one lingering in the air, unanswered. What am I meant to do next? What action should have been taken? And even more crucially, what was this intensifying sensation within me? The subsequent days passed in a haze. The weight of the conversation I had with Molly lingered, impossible to shake off. Every time I laid eyes on her, it felt as though a heavy burden was resting on my chest. She was aloof, yet not in the manner I had come to expect. A new depth had emerged, an intricate layer of complexity that demanded my attention. I found myself reflecting on her words, that Eric wasn't the individual I believed him to be. Throughout the years, Eric has consistently been a reliable and trustworthy friend. He was the one who stood by me through it all. Molly, a figure of strength and composure in my eyes, saying something like that about him just didn't add up. As I pondered further, curiosity began to take hold of my thoughts. Is there something I missed? Was it possible to trust Eric as I had always thought I could? Doubt lingered stubbornly, and with every message from Molly, my thoughts grew increasingly entangled. I never wanted to find myself caught up in a situation that could jeopardize my friendship with Eric. Yet, how could I possibly abandon her? Her pain was palpable, evident in every glance she cast my way. On that Friday afternoon, Molly reached out to me once more, inquiring if we could get together. Her words carried a familiar vulnerability that caused me to pause each time. Despite knowing I should stay out of it, a part of me realized that if I didn't pay attention, I might miss the chance to truly grasp what was happening. Our paths crossed at that familiar coffee shop. This time I was ready for whatever lay ahead. Or at least that was my belief. She sat at the table, as always, gazing into her coffee. She looked more fatigued than I recalled. Her eyes were shadowed with dark circles, revealing a weariness that suggested she hadn't slept in days. However, upon seeing me, she offered a gentle smile, yet it failed to illuminate her eyes. "Hello." She welcomed me, her voice trembling slightly. "I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me once more." I took a seat, aiming to maintain a cheerful atmosphere. "Absolutely no issue at all. You mentioned that you wanted to have a conversation." She nodded, inhaling deeply. "I've been reflecting on it all, and I'm at a loss, Tom. I'm uncertain about how much longer I can continue living like this." Her eyes shimmered with a blend of desperation and regret, and for a fleeting moment, I nearly felt a pang of sympathy for her. I refused to allow that to influence my decision-making. I needed to remain focused for the benefit of us both. "I don't want to keep placing you in this situation," she continued. "I sense I'm drifting away from who I truly am, and I'm uncertain about how to reclaim that sense of self. I'm not sure if I can resolve this issue." I leaned in, captivated by every word. I understood she was facing challenges, yet I found myself grappling with my own uncertainties. What was she truly seeking from me? Though she hadn't voiced it outright, an undeniable pull was leading me towards something I wasn't prepared to embrace. Did she really think I was going to make a decision on her behalf? "I'm uncertain about my options, Molly," I replied, my tone careful. "I'm here for you as a friend, but I'm not sure how to help you with this situation. This is a matter that only you and Eric can navigate together." Her gaze drifted to the table, and for a brief moment, she appeared to be deep in contemplation. "I know," she whispered, her voice a mere breath. "However, I find myself unable to communicate with Eric any longer. I've made an effort, Tom. I've attempted to help him recognize the issues at hand, but he just doesn't seem to grasp it. He has consistently prioritized his work, paying attention to everything except for me. I've made an effort to remain patient, but I'm feeling exhausted. I'm done waiting for something that isn't on the horizon." A wave of sympathy washed over me. I completely grasped her frustration. I witnessed the intense focus Eric could achieve while immersed in his work. Yet, when she expressed it this way, it struck as a profound betrayal of the life they had crafted together. Yet, I understood that she was reaching out, seeking someone who would truly listen to her. "So, what does that mean for me? Have you had a conversation with him regarding this?" I inquired, seeking to redirect the discussion towards something more pragmatic. She shook her head, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I'm not sure I can do that anymore. Whenever I make an effort, he closes the door on me. I'm not sure how much longer I can maintain this facade that everything is okay." A wave of pressure gripped my heart. The pain in her voice was impossible to overlook, the raw emotion unmistakably woven into her words. However, I refused to allow that to cloud my judgment. "I can't be the one to fix this, Molly," I said softly. "It's essential that you have a conversation with Eric. It's essential to express your true feelings to him clearly. It's time to determine whether this marriage is worth saving." She nodded slowly, yet her expression lacked any sense of conviction. She appeared to be overwhelmed, as if she had lost faith in the possibility of it ever happening again. "I'm not sure I can," she whispered. A prolonged silence enveloped us, the gravity of her words lingering in the atmosphere. I found myself at a loss for words. I aimed to provide her with reassurance, letting her know that brighter days were ahead. However, I wasn't able to make that promise to her. I couldn't find a solution to this. At last, I rose to my feet. "Molly, the choice is ultimately yours to make. It's essential to take a moment and reflect on your true desires. If that means facing Eric head-on, then that's exactly what you need to do. For your benefit." She remained silent. She merely nodded, her gaze vacant. "I'm aware." Her voice trembled as she spoke softly. As I stepped out of the coffee shop, a swirl of emotions tugged at me. I felt a sense of relief knowing that I had provided her with some clarity. Yet, a different part of me sensed that I had only compounded the issue. What have I just done? A week had passed since the meeting at the coffee shop. Back then, everything had a unique vibe. A nagging sensation lingered, as if I had inadvertently crossed an invisible boundary. Yet, I couldn't overlook the way Molly appeared to be distancing herself from Eric. After that day, I encountered her a few more times. Yet, she never brought up our conversation again. She seemed far away. I couldn't tell if she was still working through everything or if she was intentionally keeping her distance from me. The tension hung in the air, palpable and intense. Then arrived the moment that transformed everything. While I was at work, focused on my tasks, I received a text from Molly. It was short, yet it struck me with overwhelming force. "It's time for a conversation. Would you be able to join me at the park?" I had a sense this was coming, in a way. It was evident that she was facing challenges. I sensed that this meeting would mark the ultimate showdown. Uncertainty swirled within me, yet deep down I understood that I had to take that step forward. This must come to a close, no matter what transpired. The situation had dragged on for far too long, and I could no longer endure this uncertain space. I departed from work ahead of schedule and made my way to the park. The afternoon had a refreshing chill in the air, just enough to invigorate without being too brisk. As I arrived, I spotted Molly perched on a bench, her gaze fixed thoughtfully into the distance. She carried herself with a slumped posture, her expression a mystery waiting to be unraveled. "Hey," I said gently, taking a seat beside her. Her gaze met mine, her complexion a delicate shade of pale, exuding an air of fragility. Her eyes bore the weight of sleepless nights, dark circles framing a face that seemed to have forgotten the comfort of rest. This was not the assured woman I had once known. This was an individual on the brink of collapse. "I'm not sure where to begin, Tom," she said softly. "I've come to a realization about my next steps." I stood there, my heart racing with eager anticipation. What was she about to express? "Molly, if this is about," I began, but she cut me off. "It's about everything," she interrupted me. "We're talking about Eric. This is all about me. It's all about my desires and my necessities." Her voice trembled, and she took a moment to regain her composure. "I felt adrift for what seems like an eternity, Tom. I believed I could push through, act as if all was well, but I've reached my limit. I can no longer continue this facade." She brushed aside a lingering tear, yet it was evident that her emotions were far from resolved. "Your words have been on my mind lately. I want to have a conversation with Eric. I must come clean with him about everything. It's time to face the truth head-on." I nodded, attempting to provide her with a boost of encouragement. "That's a significant milestone, Molly. You've got to stay strong, no doubt about it. It will be challenging." She let out a sharp laugh, one that failed to illuminate her eyes. "I understand, but I can no longer maintain the facade. I can't continue to cling to something that isn't genuine." We lingered in silence for a moment. The gentle breeze stirred the leaves overhead while the faint laughter of children echoed from the nearby park. It was strangely serene, as if the world moved on, unaware of the tempest rising between us. At last, she uttered another word. "I had a conversation with Eric last night." My heart raced, and I inquired, uncertain if I truly wanted the answer. He paid attention. For the first time, he truly paid attention. She spoke, her voice gaining a touch of steadiness. However, it turned out to be different from my expectations. He remained calm. He remained calm and composed. He offered an apology. I arched an eyebrow, perplexed. "Could you clarify what you mean?" Eric expressed his regrets. He expressed his regret for not being present for me and for failing to recognize the signs of my unhappiness. He mentioned that he had become so engrossed in his work that he lost sight of what truly mattered. I was utterly astonished. This was not the Eric I remembered. His unwavering focus on his career and relentless drive for success made it hard for me to picture him ever admitting to a mistake. "What's the next step?" I inquired with caution. "I don't know yet," she replied, her gaze drifting off into the distance once more. I expressed to him that I required some time to determine whether we could rekindle what we once had. I expressed to him my uncertainty about remaining in this marriage if there wasn't a shift in our situation. The atmosphere was thick with tension. We found ourselves suspended in time, each of us holding our breath, anticipating the moment that would change everything. In a sense, we truly were. Molly glanced at me, her gaze probing into my own. "Tom, there's something important I need to share with you. Your friendship means the world to me." I found myself in a whirlwind of confusion, feeling utterly lost in it all. "However, I've come to a realization. I have a deep concern for you, perhaps more than is wise." My heart pounded painfully in my chest. I had anticipated this moment. For weeks, she had been gradually drawing nearer to me on an emotional level, but hearing her articulate it was a whole new experience. It brought everything to life, and it filled me with fear. "I can't do that," I stated with conviction. "Molly, I have to step away from this. I refuse to become entangled in anything that doesn't feel right. It's essential to prioritize your marriage and envision your future with Eric. I'm not the person who can solve your problems." Her expression dimmed, the spark in her eyes extinguishing. For an instant, I believed I caught a glimpse of pain, but it was swiftly overshadowed by another emotion: comprehension. "I understand," she whispered. "No hard feelings. I simply needed to hear it directly from you. I just had to be sure I wasn't making a mistake that could jeopardize everything." I inhaled deeply, seeking to regain my composure. "Molly, you're not causing any damage at all. You're simply setting things straight. For you." She gave a slow nod. Her expression solidified with determination. I'll be having another conversation with Eric. I'm uncertain about the future, but I'm ready to give it my all. I must do this. We rose to our feet, and I wrapped my arms around her in a warm embrace. A straightforward, friendly embrace. Clarity reigned supreme in our relationship. It was finished, and she was prepared to confront whatever lay ahead. Driving home that evening, a profound sense of finality washed over me. Molly had decided her path. She was determined to mend things with Eric. After weeks of turmoil, a wave of tranquility washed over me for the very first time. I was no longer caught in the middle. This was their struggle to conquer, and I had to have faith that they would navigate their path. I had no choice but to take a step back and allow them to find their own solution.